Coach.
Questions for Coach?
Coach, since, say, the day after the opener, what has BEal and Booker been able to do in terms of work or anything since then?
Yeah, they're working really hard with the medical team, just to strengthen and get their injuries treated. But I'm not going to get into it deeper than that.
Curious in terms of just, one thing with the timeline. What's the timeline for both of those guys getting back?
They're just both working as hard as they can to get back as soon as possible. Both eager to get back out there.
Curious also with the NBA player participation policy. Have you guys been contacted by the league about that as far as cooperating?
They're injured.
Have they contacted you all about that?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, this is not arresting. They're injured.
Okay. Lastly, starting lineup tonight?
Same as the other night.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Frank, you have such uniquely different experiences in uniquely different markets prior to coming here. What pieces maybe have you taken from each of those as you implement whatever you're trying to do here?
Even though the markets are very different, my approach to coaching the team really hasn't changed. You know what I mean? I just, there's just more noise in certain markets, but I block out the noise. So, it's not that really, not really very different for me from that standpoint.
Coach, Ellie off the bike, Sports 360 AZ. So obviously the last thing you want is for these stars to be out, but as far as a silver lining, what can it do for these role players that are really trying to find their groove in this season early on?
Well, yeah, I mean, you just mentioned it. There's always a silver lining, and when you have so many new players in a new system with a new coaching staff, all those guys getting extended minutes will strengthen our group when those guys come back. So there is that benefit.
Frank, when you watch back the fourth quarter of the other night, what things did you feel like are correctable that you can work on moving forward?
Everything from an execution standpoint offensively. Our spacing was poor, our decision making was poor. Mainly those two things, our screening, just the execution pieces. We got to work better to, work harder and smarter to get better shots. And we got to knock them down. We had a few good possessions where we got in and out, and then defensively, there's some things we could have done down the stretch to be better as well. We had an overall really solid defensive night, but we didn't get stops when we needed to.
Coach, one of the things that Josh said was not getting in transition. He's like, we've got to push it. Eric said it again this morning. When you went back with the opportunities, how many opportunities, not an exact number, but how much more could you guys have gotten out and ran more in that last game? Yeah,
definitely, if you're playing on the road in the fourth quarter, getting a couple fast break points in the fourth is always helps the cause. But we weren't getting enough stops, so it's tough to do that when guys are gassed. It's still early in the season, so I think conditioning does play a part, on all guys, not anybody in particular. And like I said, when the ball's going in the basket and we're not getting stops, it's tougher to run.
In both games, the defensive numbers in the half court were really good for you guys. What do you sort of attribute that to, and what would you like to see from the guys when they were set?
I just think we're following our defensive game plans. Our coaching staff is putting together great game plans the first two games in terms of how we're trying to slow some really lethal teams down, and our guys are really working hard to execute those at a high level.
What are the challenges Utah present with how big of a starting lineup they go with?
Well, they got a really big starting lineup. That's the first thing. You said it. So the boards are a concern. Marketing being a really challenging matchup is a big concern, and we have Jo who can slide from 1 to 4 and guard different positions. But you got Clarkson out there too. You know what I mean? So you got to figure out how to slow. Both of those two guys are elite players. Talon Horton-Tucker, I coached as a young player, is an exceptional downhill player. That has gives us great concern, and they got a heck of a team.
What do you see when you see Talon right now? Obviously, his job for you was very different. It was to complement LeBron and AD, and Will's kind of just giving him the whole bag right now. What are you seeing out of him?
Yeah, I love it. We did it in some stretches. I remember when we shut our guys down toward the end of the season, we played him like this at Golden State. He had 41. He can play full-time point guard. We did it sporadically when he was a young player, but he can play full-time point guard. He's doing it at a high level right now.
Most teams, heavy pick and roll league. There's a few teams that just don't run a lot of pick and roll. Sacramento, you saw Golden State. Utah doesn't run a lot. How hard is that to prepare for one of these teams that actually doesn't run a lot of pick and roll like everybody else?
It's, I think playing Golden State, the first game, helped us, hopefully to prepare us for this game, because there's a lot of off-ball screening action, and, Golden State obviously has a lot of that as well, and, we spent a lot of time leading up to that game, getting ready for those types of actions, so, Utah's different, they have a lot of, it's not just split screens and rips and all those things, there's a lot of slip outs, and, they're very creative with it, but, hopefully we're prepared for it.
Frank, you obviously had a couple preseason games here, being the first home regular season game. Does that have any meaning or extra juice for you?
Absolutely. It's a big game. I got that big game energy. Fired up about it. I can't wait to be in front of these fans on their side. I've been in front of it in the playoffs when it was, I don't know if you all remember, but we played a whole season without fans, and then game one of the playoffs, packed house. And it was intimidating. And hopefully it will be that way for the Jazz tonight.
Coach, what can you take away from those first 3 quarters against the Lakers as the biggest positive going forward for you guys?
Yeah, we took a team that was in the Western Conference Finals last year, and we beat them pretty bad for 3 quarters. And that's every small success like that is a confidence builder for your group. And we know we're playing shorthanded tonight and with those 2 guys out, but when you have the confidence to go into a tough house like that and play that well, hopefully you can play even better at home.